getting out of that car. But remember, it's like a Rubik's Cube. If you don't run that Hans and you hit that wall head on and you break your neck, then don't be bitching and moaning. You know what I mean? Because once again, it's like playing cards. It's like poker. You get rid of a king of hearts, and all of a sudden you realize you need it later. So,
right. We were talking about, we have some of the best fire safety crews and stuff up here at, both of our tracks. Corey is the announcer here at Willamette Speedway, and, I'm the announcer here at Sunset Speedway in Banks, Oregon. And, a lot of our volunteer firefighters, have, firefighting, first responder, EMT, backgrounds and stuff. And we were just talking on air to one of our safety guys here from Willamette Speedway, Doug, and we asked him about, hey, what happens in, a rollover situation, a fire situation. We're talking about, the foam suppression and how that eliminates, a lot of the fire very quickly, and some of the onboard fire suppression. Now, do you actually run an onboard fire suppression system?
I do not, but I do know Lucas Oil, the late models right now, it's when you look at, big associations, Lucas Oil, the World Outlaw late models, Lucas Oil now is making their late models run a big fire suppression system. A lot of guys are mounting, right behind their transmission, right in the middle of the car. But let me just take you through my deal, and maybe that explain, to a lot of people. I choose to have everything. Okay, I choose to have all the safety stuff, and then I deal with it all later. So when I flip, I say the first thing I do is breathe and stay calm. So when I flipped and I was upside down, first thing I did was I had my on and off power switch right next to me. I looked at it, I turned it off. That way there was no power, getting to the front of the car, because you're going to have about a good quart of gas come out of your carburetor. Now, we've got some carburetors coming along now that when you roll over, the gas will not drain out. But until then, just know that, if you just have a normal carburetor, you're going to have a lot of gas spill out of the front of your car. My car burst into flames when we rolled it back over. Now, when they started spraying, the powder fire extinguisher, I held my breath as I climbed out of the car. My crew chief was breathing, and he started throwing up. So there are techniques as a race car driver. I've raced my whole life, so I'm going to go through my procedure real quick. When you flip, turn your power switch off, kill all the power. Make a decision right away. If you're going to get out, the first thing you need to do is take your steering wheel off and take your helmet off. Because if you take your helmet off, you'll get out easier. These dirt cars are horrible. They need to make a rule, and we need to open up the window. The racing people are not controlling these driver openings. So the first thing I would do is take my helmet off. Then I would put my arm down and hold myself up, and then release your belt buckle so you don't fall down. I know an older gentleman that released his belt buckle, fell down, broke his neck, and killed himself. So it's very important when you're upside down and you release that safety belt latch, put your hand down, then get the hell out of there. The best way
the funniest part is that, four of us are sitting here in the studio and literally shaking our heads going, the last hour, you've literally confirmed everything that we just talked about the last hour in 6 minutes. We're talking about the driver openings, the greenhouse and the openings in some of these race cars. You get, you're not that very big of a guy, but you get some of these guys that are, 6 foot, 6'6", 280 pounds, and wearing, a full containment seat, head and neck restraints, and having a car either upside down and or either wrecked into a wall, and then trying to extricate them out of that car is nearly impossible to do it in any amount of time for safety wise. And that's where the scary part is. You get into some of these, especially the modifieds. Everybody's, wanting to build these decks higher. They're trying to get, 2 or 3 tenths out of these cars for downforce. They're trying to do anything and everything, but not looking at the big picture of driver safety. Now, you run you run
UMT.
UMT, yeah. Now, do they have a rule on deck height there?
They do, but they certainly don't police it like IMCA does. IMCA is probably, out of all of dirt racing, I'm talking late model, everything. IMCA is the oldest association in all of the United States. It's older than NASCAR. It's older than anything. Brett Root and those guys, everybody might be mad about their crate motor and this, that. But to me, by far, when you look at an organization and you look at, you look at officials, IMCA, you can bitch about them and moan about them all you want. IMCA is by far the best racing association. It's even better. They really do a good job.
They do a great job of keeping everybody on the same page. And, Kenny, something you kind of touched base on was the openings of these race cars and getting in and out in a sufficient time in a wreck. We were talking with Jeff Hansen, Hansen Racing out here on the West Coast. Craig's their driver. He's a big guy. He's 6'3", 6'4", and he's 250. He's a big guy, and we're talking about the size of the cockpits, and these cars are getting so tight, it's making hard for guys like Doug, our first responder here in the studio with Extreme Fire, to get guys out of the car in wrecks. Do you think that, in what you're seeing with these cars and the way they're being built, that we're risking too much, little things that don't matter, that's risking safety for drivers?
Yeah, and, I build race cars. I'm a fabricator. It's simple. The top hoop bar, the top roll cage is just fine. What we got to do is everybody wants to be cool. They all want to be Dale Earnhardt Sr., So, the biggest thing that we need to do is cut the door down, a couple inches. Because the roll bar, the top roll bar, of the door bar, it's low enough. What we're doing wrong is we're taking the top of the door and we're making it too high. We're building our new car right now. I'm going to have them, cut mine down about 1.5 inches. I don't give a care how I look, as long as I go to Victory Lane. It's not going to keep me from going to Victory Lane. I know Terry Phillips likes to have his door high and look cool, but, you're sitting in there burning to death. You wouldn't mind a couple more inches deep down.
That's right. I got off the phone earlier this afternoon with the maker of TRE chassis, Steve Halscamper, there in the Midwest, and one of our drivers, a guy that I used to crew chief for the last 4.5 years, I talked to him a little bit about driver safety, and he says, he makes his cars kind of like Indy cars. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he says, like, the front and rear are collapsible, so if you, either get hit real hard in the rear, the rear's supposed to be able to give way and so forth for the front. And his center section, is safe for the driver. I said, okay. I said, so what do you do when a bigger person decides that they're going to, want to buy one of your cars? He builds his cars because he's a small enough shop, custom-wise enough for, say, if you're 6'6" or whatever the case is, he will build that opening for that driver. And then if you're a smaller driver, he'll build it accordingly. And then, if you want to sell that car later on down the road, then it's driver beware. But, he's one of these chassis, manufacturers and stuff that is small enough to be able to do that. But you get into like GRTs and Shaws that are, mass produced. What do you think about that? Do you think everybody should be on the same rule book?
I think that, well, I don't think I know. Everybody's roll cage, their top door bar. Okay, so if you're a race car driver and you're sitting in your car, your left arm, your elbow, right there, the top bar, they're all low enough. They're all low enough, all the cars. What happens is people take the sheet metal of the door and they run it too far up and they on purpose close the window opening up so they can get the decking height high, you know, and try to emulate, Jonathan Davenport and the old, everybody's finding downforce in the top decking, the aluminum of this car now.
Right.
And they're angling it. You know, the left side is high, the right side is low. When you go in the corner, it's acting like a sideways spoiler, and it's creating downforce on the deck.
Right.
So everybody's making the left side of their cars higher and higher, and they're closing up that window opening. Any builder, even if you got a used car, you can simply fix that in your own shop with 10 steps.
Right.
So, it's up to each driver to fix it.
One of the other subjects that came up was the size of, NASCAR terms, the greenhouse in the cockpit. Do you think there should be a limitation on how tight those can be to keep a driver safe?
I do, and USMTS, they fixed that. Jimmy Mars, about 3 years ago, his hoop bar, the top, they call it the halo bar, the one above your head. He had that thing really low, and I had one of his cars like that, and I flipped it at our big Gator race down there at Volusia.
Yeah, down there in Florida.
I think, about 2 years ago, I flipped it. When I rolled, I got hit, and when I bought my new car, USMTS already told him today, you're not doing that no more. So Mars started building his bars, a couple inches taller, and the car still looked cool, and you could get out. So USMTS, they stopped that.
Well, race fans, we are on the phone right now. You're listening to